Got the intro up. Oh my goodness. I don't even have the intro up. What I should have done is put some royalty-free Christmas music to my intro. Let's get some royalty-free Christmas music. Let's see. And if I don't like that one, I'll just make my own later on because I can edit all that stuff whenever I want to, right? Anyways, it is the holiday season. As y'all can see, I'm wearing my Grinch sweater because the Grinch is awesome. And this is the Dr. Seuss old version. Look at that. It looks like I slaughtered the Grinch and I'm wearing his skin. Anyways, this week we will be talking about the goddesses and demonesses, this is the female demons in Aztec mythology. Now, throughout my research, they're one and the same because in Aztec mythology, it wasn't really a demon or a goddess, it was a deity. So we're going to cover all that. This was asked by someone on TikTok. So like always, I will go and find whatever I can for anyone that listens anywhere, whether it be the clips or the podcast. Feel free to recommend any ideas that I should look into. And before we get started, I have a call. I can't talk today. Before we get started, I have a call to action to announce. Go and follow me on all social medias as we get closer to the deadline in January when TikTok is supposed to go away. So please go follow me out there on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Lemon8, because Lemon8 might also go away too because it's powered by TikTok. So it's a ByteDance property. So that might also go away too. But I'm also on there. Just go to my link tree, which is in my bio, and that should take you everywhere. We have an intruder to the podcast. Right when we're talking about the demonesses and the goddesses of Aztec mythology, my wife walks in. It's like I summoned her. Okay, we're going to ignore her and continue on with the recording and live stream at the same time. I don't think she realizes this isn't just a recording session, it's also a live stream. I'm live, woman. Goodness. Let me get on with these stories before we get distracted and I end up y'all end up witnessing a murder on live here. Anyways, the first goddess that we will explore, or demoness, however you want to put it, is the great obsidian butterfly, Itzpapa Lothi. This goddess ruled over death and was the queen of these Aztec names. Nahuatl is my weakest thing ever. Next year, I promise to practice more Nahuatl. I will learn the language. She was the queen of Tzitzimime, ruled over. Oh my God, it's like the whole episode of Aztec words. So I'm going to sound like I don't know how to talk half the time. Ruled over Tamahuanchan, the paradise of those that died as infants. Her appearance was that of a striking skeletal warrior. The symbology involved with the goddess was death, decay, and decomposition. Movement, music, song, dance with teeth bared and tongue sticking out. So this also goes into like how I keep saying we're all one people. If you have been to the movies this month, there is a representation of this goddess on there too. In the new movie, Moana 2, they have an obsidian butterfly, which is also a bat. There's a bat deity on there, and I feel slightly offended that at the end of the movie, when all the different cultures appeared on boats heading towards Moana, that the Aztec were not a part of that because our mythology is in there too. But like I said, we are all one people and our representations are all one together. And also the song and dance with the teeth bared and the tongue sticking out is also part of the Indian culture too, over in India. That is one of their deities too, and it's a deity of war. I'm not too familiar with it. I've seen videos of it. It is a crazy looking dance number. The ceremony behind it is insane. If once I figure it out, I will post it on my TikTok and Instagram and just check it out. It's pretty cool. She is a deity of the celestial beings associated with the stars. They were protectors of midwives and women in labor. The place she ruled over is the home of infant mortality, where a tree with 400,000 nipples is there so it can nurture the children so that they can be reincarnated. So if a child died prematurely or as a baby, this is where they would go. They would go to a giant tree of life where they were nurtured and brought up to a full age to where they can then be reincarnated. As good and a protector she may have seemed, she was also one of the demons that threatened the world during solar eclipses. This is also why one of my episodes that's the most popular this year through my Spotify Wrapped for Creators was the Aztecs and the solar eclipses. Because this is covered on there too. She threatened the world during the solar eclipses as one of the demons that would eat the world. And there's many demons and deities that would all threaten to eat the world should it go dark. Since we are ancient Aztec, Mayan goddesses and deities, this one is one we slightly covered in a previous episode, like I just said. This goddess is... Oh, apparently I moved on without putting a space there. Since we were talking about the ancient goddesses in Mayan, we've covered this deity before in like the last 2 stories, if I'm not mistaken. This goddess is one of 2 divine, 2-headed deer, with the other one being Chimalman. They had transformed into women to seduce men. Itzpapa Lothi seduced one of the cloud serpents that had also transformed into men. Their names were Cihuacoatl and Mimich. She had told Cihuacoatl to drink. He drank the blood and proceeded to lay down with her, where she immediately ate him and tore open his chest. That's when Mimichin ran and the other goddess gave chase, where a barrel cactus fell on her and she was able to escape. And he was able to escape. Like I said, I told this story, but from a different perspective on an earlier episode. So all these stories are all intertwined. Like I said, and the other story that we talked about, it was a demon. But in this one, it's a goddess. So there is no real demon or goddesses in Aztec mythology. It's all about how you perceive them and which side of the coin you are on who they represent towards you. The next goddess on the list is the Lady of the Dead. Meek, oh my God. Look, I get excited and I start looking up all this information, and these names are long and beautiful, and I'm like, oh, I can't wait. And then I realize once I'm recording that I don't know how to pronounce them at all. And I'm ashamed to say this, but I've done 0 research on how to pronounce them. I've just done research over all the stories, as detailed as I can get. That's why it takes me up to up to 2 weeks to write these scripts. That's why next week I got news for next year. Anyways, let's continue. Lady of the Dead, Mictecacihuatl. She is the partner of the ruler of Mictlan. Her main job or role is to watch over the dead and preside over the festivals that pertain to the dead, which eventually turned into Dia de los Muertos. She is called Lady of the Dead due to being born, then sacrificed as an infant. This kind of makes her a demigod. Her image is that of a body that has been flayed and her jaw wide open as to be able to swallow the stars during the day. From what I can find, it is one of the old gods that has a form of continuation into modern religion. Like I said, now she's represented as a Catarina, the Lady of the Dead for Dia de los Muertos, and also Santa Muerte. Closely related, or also known as the Santa Muerte, her role, along with her husband's role, was to gather the bones of the departed and present them to Quetzalcoatl to create new mortals. She is by far one of the most important deities due to her role in the pantheon. She is death and rebirth, for without one you cannot have the other. This is one of the few deities where I was able to find prayers or chants associated with them, and here are a few that I find have a deep impact. So this is one of the prayers to this deity. Protect me in my darkest hour and give me strength to overcome obstacles in my way. Give me strength to be proud and resilient as my ancestors who fought against invaders. Now there's a whole list of these things, but those are the 2 most powerful ones that I found. There's more, but most of them follow along the same line of thought. And I know I'm kind of going through these pretty quickly, but there's way too much information, so I give you the most important parts that I can find. And we're going to move on to the 3rd goddess. Next is the goddess of the house, the one who keeps families together, Chantico, with her name being translated as she who dwells in the house. This goddess is over the domestic life. She maintained the warmth and the prosperity over one's home. Her image is that of a fire god's face with a skirt made of fire and flame. The image underscores her nurturing role. Her presence was thought to ensure that the hearth remained warm and that the house thrived under her influence, and in doing so provided wealth and abundance to the home. Her symbology is fire, the hearth, and flame patterns. Now, her mythology may not be as told like some of the other gods, but her presence can be felt in all stories. She may be a goddess of the home, but that does not mean her power is weak. Just think about it. Every home prays to her. That means she has one of the biggest groups in this mythology. The biggest following, the biggest prayer system is all basically to her to keep the house safe. To show her power in one story, she turns into a dragon-type creature to defend her people from an imminent threat. This shows her powers and abilities and also her fierceness. Some of her offerings and rituals was to present food, such as breads and fruits, to burn incense, and household items to be presented to her. Which makes me think that that's why most Hispanic households have a giant fork or spoon on their walls. I myself, being a former chef, I have a whisk mounted above my stove. This is thought to bring fortune to those that eat under it. Those born under her sign are said to experience bad luck on those days due to the goddess breaking a fast during a ceremony and being turned into a dog by another god. So, if you are born under her symbol around your birthday, it's supposed to be bad time for you because she broke the rules during one of the ceremonies of the gods, and another god turned her into a dog. She also holds the name Nine Dog. The goddess of spirits, Nine Dog. That's where I ended the sentence. I got to do better when I end a sentence because I just keep rambling on and then run-on sentences are a thing, right? So, the next goddess that we will speak of is the goddess of spirits. And I'm not talking about ghosts, but actual spirits like alcohol. Her name is Mayahuel, and she is the goddess of the agave plant. Some parts of her story are being kidnapped, a love affair, and being turned into a plant. The joke, or what's it called? Not a joke, but a stereotype. I don't know why I said not a joke. The joke or the stereotype comes from a place in history that Mexicans are all drunks. Not entirely true, but we do have a goddess of agave plants, which is tequila. Or mezcal. No, mezcal. And what's the other alcohol made of agave plant? Poke. Poke? Poque. Not sure if I'm pronouncing that properly. I haven't had it. I heard it's delicious if made properly. Her story is this. Long ago, when the world was ruled by the earth and the gods, a beautiful and young goddess lived. She was the subject of much speculation. One day, while 400 drunken rabbit gods cavorted in the 13 heavens, and Metzli delivered Luna each night to light dark skies. The young Mayahuel was hidden away in a dark corner of the universe by her jealous and possessive grandmother, Tzimmitl. I tried to pronounce it and I just couldn't do it. She longed for love and passion in her life. She dreamed of a romantic escape to leave her prison behind. She would spend her time at the edge of a cloud, singing a song both alluring and filled with sadness. The serpent Mitli, Tzimmitl, her grandmother became enraged, for she knew that she could not stop a love like theirs. So she plotted to kill the lovers. When the wind god and Mayahuel were made aware of this plan, they decided to travel to Earth. In a passionate embrace, they melted together into a beautiful plant with many spires. To symbolize their ascent to the heavens, and with spikes to keep the evil grandmother away. This is the agave plant because it has the long spires and the spikes because it's part cactus. It's part of that family. Upon discovering them and filled with rage, she used a machete to cut the plant in half and then into tiny pieces. She began to boil the pieces that she gave to her demons. Little did she know that she had missed a small part of the plan. Cuatli took the piece in the wind and planted it in the soil. He wept over his loss with tears bestowed to him by Tlaloc, the rain god. Since the tears were from a god, they restored Mayahuel and turned back into a Magay. So beautiful, the Aztecs were overwhelmed when they saw it. Since then, it has been revered as a symbol of passion and transformation and an elixir of culture created around magic and love. There's also a story that comes from El Silencio, a brand of mezcal, an alcohol company. This company used the story as a marketing campaign. Their story goes that in Oaxaca, an alebrije known as the Renegade Rabbit, the goddess had fallen in love with a mortal man. This was seen as taboo amongst the gods. The gods darkened the sky over the land of Oaxaca. The bravest of rabbits, known as the Renegade, climbed to the top of the highest mountain, traversed the desert, and followed the rivers, looking all over the endless storm for a place for shelter. Upon entering the cavern, he had turned into an alebrije. With his new form, he was able to steal fire from the gods. With the fire, he stroked an agave plant. The fire fermented the heart of the agave plant, turning it into pulque, Pulque, the original version of mezcal, which is why it is known as the goddess's gift. To this day, the alebrije roams the hillside with all the agave plants to ensure that the mezcal is the best it can be. The legend of the gods are in all aspects of Hispanic culture. The last one that we will discuss before we do a small switch up for the holidays is Cuatlicue. She is regarded as the mother of goddesses, or of gods, should I say. She is the fiercest of serpent gods. Her name translated is whose skirt is a snake or skirt snakes. In her mythos, she was a priestess whose job was to maintain the shrine on top of the Snake Mountain, known as Cuatlicue. As she was cleaning the shrine, a ball of feathers had descended from the heavens, and when she tucked it into her belt, it made her pregnant. If this sounds familiar, it is the same story that we told of Huitzilopochtli, and her other child was Goyoswa. Jesus Christ, I can't remember how to pronounce this. And I know the spelling is different too, because in different iterations, the spelling is different for some reason. But in this one, it's Coyolzauhqui. And the other one, it was Coxo, known as Painted with Bells. She was also a powerful goddess in her own right, and with her other children, Senson Huatznoa, or 400 Huatzna, who were the stars in the moon. So we got Huitzilopochtli, Coaxuaswaki, and Senson Huatzina. So the one that begins with the C, the ones that begin with the C, the 400 and the Painted with Bells, are the sun, are the moon and the stars. That is how the moon and the stars were created. Go over that in the episode about the god that was born from this one, because I'm not trying to pronounce these names too many times, because I fear I will have an aneurysm if I try to pronounce these names. They were enraged by the sun being born out of thin air. They stormed the mountain where their mother was, and attacked with the intention of killing their mother. From the previous story that I told, he burst forth from her chest with a ray of sunlight. In his hand, he swiftly dispatched his siblings. She is depicted as a woman with a severed head with two coral snakes representing flowing blood. She wears a necklace of human hands and hearts with a large skull pendant and skirt made of entwined snakes. Her hair is a representation of 13 months and the 13 heavens in Aztec mythology. There's a statue that is a representation of her that also shows partial belief of what would happen in a solar eclipse or if the sun failed to rise. Her 400 children would devour the world. So far, all the goddesses and demonesses that we have talked about are a major part of how women are represented in the Hispanic culture. They are the most important part of either head of the house or all the way to the head of the gods. Before I head out, we will talk a little about Christmas and the Aztec mythos. So this is how Christmas became a major part of Mexican culture. So This was to take place between the second week of December, which is what we're in now, all the way up until Boxing Day, which is, if I'm not mistaken, the day after Christmas. Actually, I don't know when Boxing Day is. I'm about to trigger everyone's devices here. Alexa, when is Boxing Day? So the day after Christmas, like I said. And everyone's devices just went off if you're listening to this near one of your devices. So from now until the day after Christmas, this was their celebration. It was known as, oh my God, it was known as Pan Quetzalitli. This is going to sound very familiar with some crazy twist. During this celebration, warriors, merchants, and Aztec lords offered captives to represent the battle between Cuatlicue and her 400 children. This was not just a reenactment, but a full-scale battle where those that fell or were meant to be sacrificed were right there, sacrificed on the spot. So if you were one of the captives that was given up during this, you weren't just going in to do a reenactment. You weren't just there to be like, oh, I'm going to pretend to kill somebody. No, it was a life or death situation. If you died, you died in sacrifice. And if you didn't die, you were sacrificed on the spot. So if you were just wounded and survived, you were sacrificed. You were dispatched right then and there. And then those that actually survived and did not take too much damage were taken to the top of the temple and sacrificed there to Huitzilopochtli, where the priests would open their chests and then sacrifice their hearts to the sun. Now, I said it'll sound familiar. None of that sounds familiar, right? But some of the stories we have talked about are familiar on how Huitzilopochtli was born. Now, listen, this is where it gets a little crazy, right? When the Spanish came with their religions, Catholicism, Christianity, they changed these deities into the ones we celebrate today. Cuatlicue, the mother of the gods, became the Virgin Mary because she had a virgin birth. Huitzilopochtli, the sun warrior, the one who burst forth from his mother's chest and killed 401 brothers and sisters, became Jesus of Nazareth. Along with this, they also introduced the nativity scene as a tool to explain the importance of all this to the indigenous people of the land. And alongside that, the priests and everyone added piñatas and posadas to further create it into a celebration. This would slowly replace the battle recreations and sacrifices with gift giving, the Virgin Mary. 98.9% of all Mexicans hold to the highest standard, Jesus and baby Jesus, to Christmas. This is how we got Christmas to this day in Mexico, right? So with all that and introducing and showing y'all how we got Christmas, can you imagine if the Spanish never came over, we could be at the base of a mountain right now watching an entire like two groups, like our version of football, two giant teams go at it, killing each other, and then go celebrate for a week straight while watching sacrifices at the top of the mountain. That sounds kind of cool. But now we got Christmas, and I get to wear funny sweaters like this and give gifts and waste a lot of money out of my pocket and stress about it every day. But that's what the holidays are about, are giving to others. No matter how you feel, it makes others happy. So with that, and on leaving on that note, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And with this, season 2 of A Spooky's Mysteries is over. And season 3 will be better and bigger than ever. So make sure you follow on every platform I'm on, whether it be Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, wherever I'm at. I'm on everything. So just find me. Link in the bio. There's always going to be a link in the bio for y'all to find me. So please follow me. And also, like I said, there's going to be big news. We're going to go from 1 a week to 2 a week. Not 2 a week. Wait a minute. That's way too much commitment. We're going to go from every week to every other week episodes coming out to give me a little break and write more in-depth stuff to make it a little bit more enjoyable of experience to y'all. And that is it. So until next time, Happy New Year, or Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and stay spooky, everybody.